Straw Hut Media.
If you can picture yourself going out there in your boots and underwear and getting purposely booed and having stuff thrown at you and having 10,000 people hate you, and you walk out like, cool, awesome. Your skin is so thick, there is nothing that can hurt you in life.
Today, we're stepping into the ring with someone who's not only a champion in the world of professional wrestling, but also a champion for trans rights and visibility. Gabbi Tuft is probably best known for her years fighting as the dreadlock demolition man in the WWE under the ring name Tyler Rex. Get it? T-Rex? After hanging up her wrestling boots in 2014, Gabbi became a private fitness coach. But then, in February 2021, she publicly came out as a trans woman. In this episode, Gabbi takes us through her journey of self-discovery. We'll explore some of her experiences in the hyper-masculine world of professional wrestling and how they helped shape her into the strong woman she is today. She also opens up about the courage it took to come out publicly as trans, the responses she received from her family and her fans, and the support systems she leaned on during her transition. Since then, Gabbi has become a prominent advocate for trans rights and visibility. We'll uncover what motivated her to step into this role and the key messages she hopes to convey through her work in advocacy and her private fitness coaching. For all you wrestling fans out there, we've got some exciting news. Gabbi told us she's ready to make her triumphant return to the ring, embracing her new wrestling persona, the Mother. This persona isn't just a name, it's a powerful symbol rooted in queer culture. Think about the mother that signifies the older, more experienced caregiving member of the queer community. Or think about mothering as describing someone who is exceeding expectations in what they're doing. As Gabbi prepares to step back into the ring, she's not just wrestling, she's mothering, embodying the strength, care, and resilience often associated with the term. As the saying goes, mother knows best, and in this case, mother is mothering.
I'm Gabbi Tuft, and this is Pride.
Okay, you have no idea how excited I am to have you on the podcast because I've been watching your Instagram videos since before you were doing the protein bar, protein reviews, and all of the things that have gone very viral, and your Instagram account has gotten huge. So I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yay, I'm excited to be here. That's amazing. So you're like an OG follower.
I really am. I remember all the videos you used to do, the comment reactions, and those are the ones I would show people and be like, how brilliant is this? Because I loved them and I do a lot of queer media things. So applause for that. Do you mind telling our listeners who you are, introducing yourself both in and out of the ring and before the ring and after the ring?
Sure, yeah. Gabbi Tuft, I'm a former WWE superstar. As a male, before I transitioned, after WWE, I started a fitness company called Body Spartan. And my company was mostly responsible for popularizing the ketogenic nutrition plan on social media. So it was around before me, but we made it real popular. And then in 2021, I came out as trans, and I debuted my new life on Extra TV with Billy Bush. And then from there, it just completely took off like a rocket. I got onto TikTok in 2021 and just made a couple of videos about my life. One day, I logged in and I couldn't get in. My account had been shut down. And so I emailed TikTok, and when they let me back in, I guess I got so many views overnight, they thought it was spam. And I went from getting like a couple thousand views to a couple million, and the rest has been history. So here I am now doing fitness and nutrition as me, as Gabbi, and helping surprisingly 99% females with my coaching business now.
Now, a huge part of your virality on social media is you are not afraid to address trolls or people who were fans of you when you were a WWE superstar. When people throw things out like, oh, you used to be this person, you're not afraid to address those head on and say yeah, you don't like it because it affects your masculinity or it's detracting from you. How did that start? How did you decide, you know what, I'm gonna just go head on with these people?
It started because there was a myriad of hate before the positive stuff came in. And it was mostly on TikTok. So I posted something, got a ton of views. I got a couple of great comments, but then it was like, oh, this dude, oh, you still look like a guy and this and that. And at that point, I think I was very new to having facial surgery. I think I was like 6 or 8 weeks out of facial surgery. So my face is still very swollen, which, by the way, after facial feminization surgery, you stay swollen for a year and a half to 2 years before your face completely settles down. And so I was just sharing my story, and I felt the need to go out there and let people know, like, hey, this isn't my final form, like whatever anime that is. It's like, this isn't my final form, guys. Here's the long journey. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. And I'm just here to share my journey. And because I was so transparent, a lot of my followers and new followers, soon to be followers, appreciated that. So I continued to be completely transparent. And I didn't go about slamming the trolls like a lot of people do and getting offended and becoming defensive and argumentative. I just took a moment to use that as an educational moment to help people that maybe don't know what's going on have a little more insight onto the long duration of a transition.
Seeing those comments, did that give you gender dysphoria? Because it's really easy to perceive you as very strong, as not really affected by what anyone says, and kind of not giving a fuck. But on the backside, when you first got them, was it hard to put yourself together and put together a really eloquent response, which is what you did every time?
Thank you. First of all, I didn't know we could drop F-bombs.
Well, you can. You go for it.
If that's the way it goes, oh, you're going to see a whole nother side of me. I got a sailor's mouth. To this day, it actually still creates some dysphoria. And it's very interesting because as a male, when I got that stuff, I didn't get like, oh, you look like you still look like a man or whatever. Like male, guys would say stuff to try to sound cool. And I'm just like, look, dude, I could step on you and you'd be finished. And that's kind of how I look at it. And it was like a very masculine approach. But it's shocking as I'm transitioning to female, how many guys will come in and just throw shade. And it's like, wait, why? I'm supposed to be the, little more on the gentle side. And it's shocking how people take advantage of what they consider a weakness. But yeah, it does create gender dysphoria. And I think for anybody that's getting hate and being trolled online, it hurts. When you get enough, you get one or two, you're like, no big deal. But some of them hit you right in that sweet spot, where you've got your things that you can't fix at the moment. And people pick those out and they'll make a target out of that. And it's just like everybody jumps on the bandwagon. And you're like, yeah, tell me something I don't know. And I don't really want to face the world today because of this. So even, as much as I feel like I present a, hey, I'm bulletproof image to the world, I'm like, you can't hurt me. Like, there's nights when I go cry. I'm like, I'm joking about it, but I'll go cry. I'll sit in bed. I'm like, God, this sucks. Is it really that bad? Like, yeah, okay, I need to do something about that, but I can't right now. So I'm just going to cry myself to sleep. It still happens,
Yeah, because everyone's human, no matter, yeah.
As much as we want to think, we're immortal or we're demigods, we're not. We're just souls in a body, and we're all sharing different experiences and different emotions.
You do such a great job of communicating that human side of your transition and your personality, because you're famous. You do such a good job also of describing masculinity and femininity and gender and kind of all of those concepts. What do you feel like you had to unlearn about masculinity? Because at one point you were the pinnacle, you were the definition. If you opened the dictionary, it was your photo for masculinity.
For alpha male.
Absolutely. Do you feel like you had to unlearn things about masculinity, femininity, and the gender binary as you transitioned, or did it happen fast?
So a lot of it came very naturally because I knew where I wanted to go. And I step softly when I say things like this. I had the most incredible role model for the divine feminine. My wife, Priscilla, even though we're separated now, we are still like best of friends. She's my person and I'm hers, and that'll never change. But she just defines goddess in every way, shape, or form. And I had the privilege of being with her since we were in high school. So I've watched her grow up. I know all of her friends, and her friends will range from not as divine feminine to completely divine feminine as she is. So I've seen the wide array. And so fitting into that mold, so to speak, and just kind of easing into a more feminine, just kind of overall mechanics and thought process it was very close to home for me. I didn't have to go searching for great female role models. And I eased into that fairly naturally. However, things I had to unlearn: the body mechanics, the way that a guy, like a born male, will walk and talk and do things, the smallest mannerisms. We don't necessarily recognize all those. The way that a guy will pick up a water bottle and drink it and squeeze it and like shoot all the water in his mouth and slam it down, you know? Whereas, I've watched many females over my life, and it's much different. It's very gentle. It's the way that I had a phase where I would observe, and I would watch females, and not because I was being creepy, but because I was in that alpha brainwave state again, where I was learning and taking in the culture around me. And I would watch women get up out of chairs and sit down. How do they sit down? How do they walk into a gym? How do they walk into a restaurant? How do they get into a car? How do they get out of a car? And it was this whole learning process. And I know that some people are going to listen and go, oh, so you're just acting. But if you think about it, when a child is growing up, they're immersed in the gender culture. So if they grow up with, a mom, and they know that they're female, and they grow up with having a lot of girlfriends, they'll notice that girls act a little bit different. It's all learned behavior.
As a former professional wrestler, what inspired you to enter the world of wrestling? Because it is hyper masculine, and you were not presenting as the gender you really identified with internally. Knowing that, I would feel like that would be terrifying to enter wrestling because it's so masculine. How did those experiences shape you?
It's important to understand, when I was in the WWE, I had no idea this was going to happen in my life. I didn't have these internal feelings. I've said this so many times. There was no context to what I was experiencing when I was a kid. And so I buried it, and I don't know. Let me back up. Where I am now in my transition, being, I'm 4+ years in now, my hormones are very balanced. There's definitely like a hormone high you get when you first start your hormone replacement therapy, and you get off in this Delulu land. And it's like being a teenager again, like those hormones hit. Remember all those feelings you had as a kid, like as a teenager, when you're just like, nothing matters but emotion. And like, that's what you go through. Is like, I was 42 when I started. So now that it's kind of simmered down and everything's balanced, and I feel like I'm kind of acting a little more my age and I've gone through all the phases, I've taken a lot of time to soul search and look back. And I can honestly say, I have no idea why I felt the need to transition or not be here on this planet. I really don't know. I thought it was because this is what I experienced when I was a kid, and I didn't have context for it. And so I buried it. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't. I'm not sure. But during that time when I was wrestling, I was a guy. I embraced my masculinity. It wasn't hard at all. That's who I was. And I felt very comfortable in that. So I know it was hyper masculine, and it's still, wrestling's still very hyper masculine on the men's side, obviously. But we've got a divas division. We've got women's division that's kicking ass and taking names.
Being so much in the public eye, your decision to come out publicly as trans is really courageous.
Thank you.
What was the catalyst behind that decision? Like, what was the moment? And then do you feel like this response that you got from fans and peers was what you expected?
Oh, this is a great question. The catalyst was, I, at the time, was I'm still very recognizable. I can't walk down the street with somebody like, hi, Gabbi. I'm like, oh, hi, But as a guy, in my former quote unquote life, at 6'2" and 280 pounds of a man with dreadlocks down to my butt and a bunch of tattoos, you can't miss me. And when I started to present female in public, honey, it was only a matter of time before somebody was like, hey, that's Gabbi Tuft. That's Tyler Rex from W. He's dressed like a girl. Like, could you see the headlines? Like, I would have never been able to tell my story with my truth behind it and had the opportunity to explain my emotions when I was dealing with. If the media had gotten a hold of that, honey, it's over. Like, I'm done. It would have been squashed. I would have never recovered. And when I realized this was the direction I was heading and there was no going back, I just said to myself, I've got to get in front of this. I've got to be able to tell my story so that people can have an understanding. I knew they were going to make their choices no matter what. They're going to judge if they're going to judge, or they're going to get on my side if they're going to get on my side. But at least my story would be out there and I could break it before paparazzi got it or some news outlet just decided to slam me. And that was the end of me. And I would just like, it would ruin me, you know?
Transitioning is such a personal thing, and knowing that you're going to be in the public eye, which you did. What support systems did you have in place? Were there resources? Was it family? Like, what was really instrumental, I'm assuming, Priscilla, in that time for you?
Yeah, it was Priscilla. She was my only, there was nobody else in the world that knew. It was just her. And she was everything. She knew it was happening before I did. There was a time over the summer 2020, when I was presenting female pretty much every night. She called her mom, and her mom's pretty much her best friend, which is amazing. I love that. My mom's kind of my bestie right now too, aside from Priscilla. And she's actually here visiting. It's really sweet. So she told her mom over the summer, she said, hey, you and daddy and everybody, you may want to fly out soon. And she goes, why? And Priscilla says, well, not sure how much longer Gabe's going to be here. He's kind of going through a thing. And it wasn't like I'm going to off myself. It was, there's a big change coming and I need to tell you what it is. And so she was able to just clearly, the writing was on the wall. Being married to somebody for that long, we're separated, but we're still married on paper. It's 26 years. We've been together. So we got married in 2002 and we were together several years before that. That person inside and out, and what's happening. So she was my biggest supporter. And then of course my family. When I decided to tell my parents, I wrote them this like 11 or 12 page handwritten letter and I sent it to them. And when they read it, they got in touch with me immediately, and they were just an overwhelming mountain of support. Just, I'm so sorry we didn't know. We love you. How can we support you? And that was it. And it was more awkward for me than my parents, just I had to go face them. The first time I saw my dad post transition was after I had my first breast augmentation. And I need to see my dad. I haven't seen him in like a year and a half. And they live in California. I live in Texas. And I remember flying out there, and it was still pretty big. It was like 220, muscular. And I was wearing these long old wigs. Like they were better than the $15 Amazon wig I came out with on Extra TV. the hard front synthetic wig I was wearing. But they were still wigs.
Well, wigs are expensive too. A good one's expensive.
They were. I was paying a couple grand for mine. It was not cheap, and I had to learn to install them. But there was still that, what I felt like was kind of a facade in a way. My dad had to see me like, okay, I'm taking this off, and here's my real hair, and I got to wash my hair. I know you love me for who I am. And it's, my dad's a man's man, but he loves me no matter what.
And you were an alpha. Like you said, an alpha male is how you described it.
We tore down cars together, built engines together, we did all the man stuff. Like we barbecued, we did all the man stuff. But the coolest part about that is my dad, the first time I visited him, he's always been accepting, but I really saw how accepting he was. I remember we were sitting at the dinner table, and my dad was at the head, my mom was across, and then I was sitting like if I was here. And he just reaches his hand out to me like this. And I put my hand in his hand, and he gently closes it. He's never done that before with me. And he just looks at me and says, I'm so glad you're here. I love you. And I'm like, whoa, that's powerful. And then he goes, and my mom and I went out to do some stuff. And I come home, and there's a whole bouquet of flowers that he had picked from the yard for me. And I'm like, that's support if I've ever seen it. First man to ever give me flowers was my dad.
That gesture of interacting with you different than building a car together or tearing apart a car or car apart or whatever. It's a very different way of interacting with you. So it really shows empathy and like support.
Yeah. I think too, part of it is, on my side, I made it very easy for him to slide into that role. I wasn't awkward. And again, I've always had this mentality. I know what I am. Like I wasn't born a female. I don't have female DNA. I don't have a uterus. I don't have fallopian tubes. And this whole process is weird and awkward for most people around me. It's weird and awkward for me, for the most part. I mean, not anymore, but the transition itself is just, you don't see it all the time. We're less than 1% of the entire population. And so I remember I walked in the door. I gave my dad a big hug the first time I saw him, and we both kind of cried a little bit. We were so happy to see each other. And we're standing in the foyer, and we're all chit-chatty. And I go, Dad, we can never go this long without seeing each other. He's like, I know. I said, look what happened. I changed genders. And he goes, and he gives me this weird look. I'm all, it's okay, Dad. It's a joke. You can laugh. He goes, oh, okay. And from that moment on, the jokes started flying. I'm like, you can't offend me. I love you, Dad. So let's have fun with this. And from that point on, everything was cool. But it's on the other person, like the person transitioning to be a little confident in what you're doing and help people ease into it. So I did it with humor and with laughter. And my dad just was like, okay, it's cool. Like, let's do this.
Was it quick for Priscilla? Because for her, being with someone for that long and she had married a very different person, was it a difficult transition for her, or was it something she got into quickly?
Yeah. On the external, when it started, it was didn't appear difficult for her. She did a great job of being a rock for me and being a rock in the public eye too. She did a phenomenal job of that. We had a lot of ups and downs because I was changing. My mannerisms were changing, my emotions were changing, and she was losing her husband of 20 something years. The husband that had been with her since she was 16, the alpha male who protected her no matter where she went, who provided for her and supported her and was there for her and our daughter. And at every turn, I had an answer for her on what to do with her life. And like, if she needed help, I'm there. If she needed direction, I'm there. If she needed protecting, I'm there. She never had to lock a door in the house, you know. She never had to worry about going somewhere and going out at night or going to the store or something like that. And if I wasn't there, somebody, you know, taking advantage of her. Now, these are things that she's thinking about, and it's a whole new world for her. And so it's like she lost her husband, or it's like her husband died. And we were very careful in the beginning. We were very careful to say it didn't feel like a death. And it didn't in the beginning. But the longer we've been in this process, it does feel like somebody died. It feels like Gabe is gone. There's no remnants of that man I used to be left. I mean, like you said, we're gonna get to it, but if I slide a toe into the wrestling ring, I just am a killer. And it all comes back. But other than that, there isn't. I mean, the soul is there. The soul, it's never changed. Like, who I am internally has not changed. But Gabe is gone. And she had to lose her husband. He had to die.
So I saw your transition on your Instagram where you started using the mother, or the mother is mothering. There's a lot of mother going on and it's a trademark. I think you going back into the ring in any professional wrestling is going to be huge. You haven't really said it on Instagram, but is that what's happening?
Oh, it's absolutely what's happening, honey. It's not a matter of if, it's just when is all it is. And I think there was this big, not misconception, but remember, I've been out of the ring for 11 years. And in my 4 years of transitioning, I didn't do any strength training. I didn't do any extreme sports. I just did some walking cardio to lose, and maybe some running here and there. So my goal was to lose all this muscle and then to step back in the ring to one of the most incredibly athletic and intense, I hesitate to say the term sports. It's sports entertainment. It's not competitive. It is a dance of athleticism, but it is the most brutally intense and one of the most painful things I've ever done, to step back into the ring after 11 years and people go, whoa, she's back. I'm like, well, hang on. It took me 8 months of training to get to TV the last time. And I'm 4 months in now. And in my own personal opinion, I'm ready. Like, I've got a character I've been working on for 8 months. I'm match ready. I'm 100% ready to go. But yeah, you called it. Mother is coming, honey. And when that switch gets thrown, there is nothing that is going to get in Mother's way. And they're either with me or against me. And half the world is going to love me because of it. And half the world's going to hate me because of my character. We know that through Mother so well. And there's gonna be like the LGBTQ community, we get it. We know what Mother means in an iconic phrase. And it's catching on, and for people outside the community, like, they get it. Okay, Mother's an iconic term for a female. But what's going to be going through the minds of millions is, why is this trans woman calling herself mother? What an insult. But in the entertainment realm, oh, love me or hate me, you'll be watching. Especially those that hate me. They're gonna tune in just to see what happens. And if I rub them the wrong way, good, because they're gonna come back for more and they'll be watching every moment.
It's going to be a history-making moment, really, especially, doesn't really matter what WWE or what you're participating in. It's going to be history-making. Are you ready for that?
Oh, I was born for it, honey. I don't want to sound arrogant. I'm confident. And it's part of manifesting what you want in life. We hear this term, manifesting what you want. And if you talk to or you watch a lot of the interviews with very well-known famous celebrities, majority of them have spent time manifesting. And confidence comes from doing something over and over and over again until the newness wears off. And then it's just confidence. I've done this a million times. I've done this in my head a million times. I've gone over every possible scenario in my head, and I'm confident as to what's going to happen. And confidence and arrogance not to be confused, because I am honored to have the potential to be the first formerly male WWE superstar to transition and then come back to what could be WWE. It could be AEW. It could be another promotion. Who knows where it's going to be, but I'll be there. It's just a matter of time.
I mean, I think everyone else is going to be there too. And it's also going to be a really big moment for trans people. There are a lot of role models now in the trans community, but you'll be very unique in that position. And I think because you're so open about your mental health, and that is something that could create a lot of dysphoria, getting lots of feedback from, depending on how many people watch. I mean, it's going to be a lot of people. Do you feel like you're going to need to prioritize your mental well-being throughout that journey as well? Do you have any advice for anyone who's, just transitioning and you're getting ready to be a wrestler?
When we talk about prioritizing mental well-being, I don't view myself as, I don't spend time to prioritize in that way, where I'm going to go take days off and go, see a therapist. Not that that's a bad thing or anything like that. Like I said, I've done this in my head a million times. I know what show business and being on TV brings. I'm so prepared for it, because what you see on screen is exactly what I want you to see and nothing more. And part of being in sports entertainment, if I am to return to WWE, which is my ultimate hope, is to be back on that stage. And whether it's WWE or AEW, whatever stage I step on, and TV gets me, which they will, somebody's going to grab me. They are meant to love me and to hate me. That is show business. That is being on TV. You are now in the public eye. And in wrestling, we have an antagonist and a protagonist. And I am one hell of an antagonist. We call them the heels. I am a phenomenal heel. And I was built to be hated. I can take it. Like before, picture this, Levi. As a male, standing in the middle of a ring in your boots and underwear, in front of 10,000 people, knowing there are 3 million people watching you on TV, and there's going to be more when they hit the reruns and the replays, and they go onto, Peacock or whatever network you're on, and they watch it there, 2 days later.
Netflix as of next year.
Netflix, the $1 billion WWE deal. Holy crap. That's incredible. Okay. By the way, congratulations to WWE on that deal. That's just amazing. But imagine sitting there and your job, and the more hate that you get when you walk out there with whatever you say, you're given a microphone, the more hate you get, the more that crowd hates you, the better the match is going to be, because they're going to want the babyface to win. And that is the goal. It is ultimate storytelling. I'm used to having stuff thrown at me. I've had batteries thrown at me at the Cow Palace when I was there. It's like, I know the deal. And if I'm doing that and those people boo me because that's what I'm trying to get them to do, I've done my job, and that is exactly where I want them to be.
Well, is there something freeing in playing the heel? Like, is it like armor?
God, yes. If you can picture yourself going out there in your boots and underwear and getting purposely booed and having stuff thrown at you and having 10,000 people hate you, and you walk out like, cool, awesome. Your skin is so thick. There is nothing that can hurt you in life. There is nothing anyone can say to you. There is nothing anyone can do to you. There is nothing that is going to affect your mental well-being. You're like, throw your best flaming arrows at me, dude. I am fine. It's like, and I honestly attribute my social media now and the way that I handle things to previously being a heel in WWE, because I didn't care. I'm like, make fun of me. I don't care. And that's kind of the way I'm now. I'm like, throw them all at me. That's cool. I can take it.
You do have the private coaching business, which you mentioned that it's majority women who are working under you for fitness and kind of self-discovery. First, could you tell us about that? And second, do you feel like that's going to go away if you become a WWE diva?
It will stay. That is my long-lasting passion, is to help people through fitness. And right now it's very female focused. 99% of my clients are biological females. And so what happened is when when I transitioned, my previous business was a fitness business, but it was 90 something percent male demographic, and they were following an alpha male, and I transitioned to female. And alpha males don't like when their heroes transition to female. I don't blame that. They want to follow an alpha male. They want to feel like, they got a role model, and me transitioning is not much of a role model for an alpha male wanting to be an alpha male. So that business crashed. And I had a wake up call one day where I swiped my debit cards and they were all negative and they all got declined. And I had maxed out all my credit cards. And I had a oh crap moment. I had a huge oh shit moment. Reality sunk in. I could no longer hide. And it was the decision where I've got a daughter living with me. I have a mortgage to pay, taxes to pay, I have bills to pay, and I have food to put on the table. And I can no longer let wherever I am in my transition dictate who sees me and what kind of business I do. If I don't make a change now, my daughter and I are going to be out on the street. And so I previously raced motorcycles. I did road racing. I had two bikes. I had two race bikes. I had so much money in bikes, and I short sold them. I sold them for peanuts. It was enough to get me through about a month of my bills. And I said, I've got 30 days to create a business and find a way to make money. And that's what I did. I put a post out on every platform and I said, hey, I'm here. And for the first time in 6 years, I'm opening my books to online one-on-one personal fitness and nutrition coaching. I'm still me. I look different, but I have all my knowledge and I'm here to help you. And to my shock, I had a bunch of biological women contact me. I had a couple of trans women, which was fantastic. My heart was there. But by the end of the week, I had a couple clients. By the end of the month, I was paying my mortgage. And then it kept growing and growing and growing. And now I have 14 people on staff with me. I've hired a team of coaches that I train. I double certify them within my company, so they're triple certified no matter what. I'm a licensed sports nutritionist, certified personal trainer, and over the last 14 years, I have coached over 2,000 people to success. So we have a massive success rate.
That is insane.
Yeah, and it's incredible. We focus on a lot of things. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is one of the largest subgroup of women that we coach. And my research over the years, I spend about an hour a day in published medical data. So the research I've done over the decade that I've been doing this, I've been lucky enough to find connections that a lot of doctors have not been able to find. The consistent comments I will see are, Gabbi, in one post on PCOS, you told me more about what's going on with my body than my doctor has been able to in the last 20 years. Thank you. And so it's a huge honor to be able to make those connections and see women have true relief of those symptoms that plague them for their whole life. But it ain't going nowhere. It is not going anywhere. That's where my heart is.
I have a couple more questions that I just want to wrap up with. But the first one is, what do you wish more people understood about your journey and your experience? Because I think it happens with a lot of people who are public facing. They just don't see them as much as oh, you have feelings, you're a human being. You can take all this hate, you can take all these things. Is there anything you really wish people understood about you?
Yeah. I am human. I really am. As much as I try to put up a shield, I'm human. I have feelings. I go cry at night sometimes. And you don't see that. You see what I want you to see. And I want you to see a leader. I want you to see someone who is strong for our community and strong for the world. But I'm human. And I can only take so many flaming arrows before it does get to me. But other than that, I do want people to know that the reason I'm so transparent with my journey is not specifically because I want just the transgender community to feel like they have somebody to look up to. I want the rest of the world to know that trans or not, when you stop caring about what other people think and we pull the veil away, you really, truly unlock all of your potential and who you are meant to be. In this world, we care far too much about what our neighbor thinks, about a random person in traffic thinks about us, about what our friends think, about what our colleagues think. people we work with, and we're scared to be who we really could be and who we really are. And there are so many missed opportunities because of that. If I was scared of being me, I would have never put a toe back into that ring. I would have never unlocked that side of me. And while a lot of people look at this and they say, well, you're not doing anything for the trans community, you're acting like a guy again. Well, I look at it going, I'm doing a phenomenal job of entertaining. And you can hate me for it. You can love me for it. I don't care. And I don't care what you think. I'm being me. And this is what I do. I'm really good at it and I'm passionate about it. I don't care what anybody thinks. So the less you care about what people think, the more your true potential will unlock.
And my last question is, you know, a lot of wrestlers have sayings that, or taglines like, can you smell what The Rock is cooking? Was The Rock's.
Yes.
Is the mother going to have a tagline? And if so, what is it?
She does have a tagline, but I can't tell you.
Oh, come on.
You'll have to wait
All
for
right,
the
we're
debut.
going to have to tune in.
Because, and let me tell you why. Because it only happens once. There is only one revealing of Mother. There is only one revealing of what she's going to say and what she's going to do. And here's what I can tell you about Mother. Everything that she does, she believes she's doing for the greater good. And everything that is about to transpire is like nothing you have ever seen before. That much I promise you.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Obviously, where can everyone follow your journey? Because it's about to get really exciting.
Yes, you can follow me on all my social media platforms. They are all Gabbi Tuft, Gabbi Tuft. If you are hoping for fitness and nutrition help with my team and myself, it's coachgabbi.com. And there's a little form you fill out. It takes you about a minute or two. And from that point, my team will contact you and then we'll get you in and we'll get you to your goals.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gabbi, for coming on.
You are welcome. I had to turn the Mother switch off.
Pride is a production of Straw Hut Media. If you like the show, please leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Then, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, the app formerly known as Twitter, and Snapchat @Pride, and tune in weekly for more episodes. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and subscribe for more stories from amazing queer people. If you'd like to connect with me, you can follow me everywhere @Levi Chambers. Pride is produced by me, Levi Chambers, Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Brandon Marlowe, and edited by Daniel Ferreira.